There is a silent current moving beneath the surface of your life, a hidden vibration that does not answer to effort, to struggle, or to time. It is older than your fears and deeper than your hopes. It is the state from which all things are made. And tonight, as you prepare to lay your body to rest, I invite you not to chase wealth, not to ask for it, not to reach for it with anxious hands, but to enter the state from which wealth is born. For riches are not summoned by motion, they are summoned by being. And the man who understands this ceases forever to beg of the world. He begins instead to command it from within. You have been taught to believe that money is a thing you must pursue, that abundance is a prize you must earn, that prosperity sits somewhere in the future waiting for your labor to deserve it. But I tell you now with perfect certainty that this belief is the very reason it has remained distant. For what you pursue, you confess you do not have, and what you confess you do not have. The law of your own being must continue to reflect. The world does not mirror your desires. It mirrors your identity. And identity is not formed by what you chase, but by what you quietly assume yourself to be. Wealth is not a number. It is not a possession. It is not a coin, nor a ledger, nor a ledger's promise. Wealth is a state of consciousness. It is a way of being. It is a quiet, settled, knowing that one is already provided for, already supported, already sufficient. And from that state, all visible forms of abundance flow as effortlessly as breath flows from the lungs. You were never meant to force life. You were meant to assume it. There is a sacred hour each day when the world loosens its grip on you, when the noise of the senses grows dim, when the weight of appearances begins to soften. That hour is the moment just before sleep. In that interval between waking and dreaming, you stand at the doorway of creation itself. The conscious mind steps aside. The outer man grows quiet, and the inner man, the true creator, rises in power. What you feel in that moment enters the womb of the subconscious, and what enters there must, by law, be born into your world. This is why I say to you that sleep is not rest alone. Sleep is creation. Sleep is prayer without words. Sleep is the moment when you stop pretending to be the mask the world sees and return to the being that you truly are. And if you knew the power you hold in that final hour before unconsciousness, you would guard it as you would a holy sanctuary. You would not enter it with fear. You would not pollute it with worry. You would not carry the dust of the day into the temple of the night. You are not here tonight as a seeker. You are not a wanderer searching for a key outside yourself. You are here as a creator who has momentarily forgotten his own power. And my only purpose in this moment is not to give you something new, but to remind you of what you have always been. For you do not attract wealth as something separate from you. You express wealth as a condition of your own being. And when you return to that condition inwardly, the outer world will follow as faithfully as shadow follows form. The greatest deception ever accepted by man is that effort is the cause and rest is the reward. In truth, rest is the cause and effort is the effect. When the soul rests in the certainty of being provided for, the hands move without strain, the mind without conflict, and the world rearranges itself without resistance. But when the soul strains in the belief that it must still earn its right to exist freely, then even the greatest labor yields only exhaustion. Tonight I call you to abandon effort, not in your actions, but in your identity, to stop trying to become rich, and instead to remember that the state of wealth is already within you, waiting for your consent. You do not need to fight your way into abundance. You need only to remove the sense of separation from it. The moment you feel yourself to be the one who is already supported, the law begins to work on your behalf without delay, without noise, without announcement. You may feel tired of trying. You may feel weary from waiting. You may feel as though you have taken every step and still the door has not opened. And I tell you gently that the door does not open by pushing. It opens when you realize you are already on the other side inwardly. For every door in your world is first a door in your consciousness. And every limitation you experience was once a silent agreement you made within yourself without knowing you had done so. So do not come to this hour as one who asks. Come as one who remembers. Do not listen as one who hopes. Listen as one who knows. For what I am speaking to you now is not a promise. It is a description of what already is. The wealth you seek is not coming. It is responding. It is responding to the state you are willing to occupy, when no one else is watching, when the lights are out, when the world has fallen asleep, and only your inner being stands awake. This is the mystery that has always governed the rise and fall of men, the increase and the lack, the open door and the closed one. It is never circumstance. It is always state. And tonight I will lead you not toward the object of wealth, but into the state of wealth. Not into effort, but into rest. Not into seeking, but into being. As you listen, you need do nothing. There is nothing to achieve. There is nothing to prove. There is only a state to enter, and the state does not demand strength. It requires surrender. It does not require belief. It requires consent. The consent to let go of the old man who struggles, and to assume the being of the man who simply is. And so I say to you now, even before you close your eyes, even before your body grows heavy with sleep, even before the world fades from view, you are not preparing for wealth. You are preparing to remember that you already are wealth in expression. And as you sink deeper into this awareness, as your breath slows, as the outer world loosens its hold, the law will begin to act, not tomorrow, not later, but now invisibly, faithfully, and without your interference. For the law never sleeps, and when you surrender yourself to rest in the right state, when you enter sleep not as a beggar, but as an heir, not as a seeker, but as a possessor, not as a man hoping for fortune, but as a man who has already assumed it, then even while your body lies still, your world will begin to move. Stay with me now. Do not rush. Do not analyze. Simply allow these words to carry you away from effort and into identity, away from waiting and into being. For what you are about to enter is not a technique, it is a state. And once you have entered it, you will never again be able to see the world in the same way. Man's first and greatest error is not that he lacks, but that he seeks. For the moment a man seeks, he confesses to the depths of his own being that he does not possess. Seeking is the language of absence. It is the silent decree that says, I am not yet, and the law, which is eternally obedient, must answer that confession with mathematical precision. It does not argue with your words. It does not challenge your logic. It only reflects what you are being. And so the world becomes crowded with men who strive endlessly, who labor tirelessly, who chase relentlessly, yet remain inwardly poor, because they have never ceased to seek long enough to become. There are two men moving through this world at all times, even though they may wear the same name and the same face. One is the man who pursues, the other is the man who assumes. The first believes he must run after life in order to deserve it. The second knows that life runs after him because he has already received it inwardly. The first wakes each day asking, how will I get? The second wakes each day quietly knowing, it is already mine. The first is driven by effort. The second is sustained by being. And the strange mystery of existence is that the second, who appears to do less inwardly, always receives more outwardly. Desiring, as the world practices it, is not a creative act. It is a declaration of separation. When you desire money as something outside yourself, you confess that wealth is not your state. When you desire freedom as something in the future, you confess that bondage is your present identity. Desire, when rooted in the belief of distance, becomes prayer spoken from lack. And prayers spoken from lack return more lack, not by cruelty, not by punishment, but by law. The law does not give you what you request, it gives you what you are. Within every man there is a silent beggar who has learned to speak softly, almost politely, in the chambers of the mind. This beggar may not cry aloud. He may not even use fearful words, but he whispers constantly, maybe someday, hopefully, if I try hard enough, if I am lucky, if circumstances change. And these offhand phrases, these seemingly harmless inner murmurs, form decrees as absolute as any proclamation spoken from a throne. The inner beggar kneels even when the outer man stands tall. And because he kneels inwardly, he must remain poor outwardly, no matter how fast his body runs or how far his hands reach. I tell you with perfect certainty, you do not attract what you want. You attract what you consent to be. Your world is not responding to your goals. It is responding to your self-concept. And self-concept is not formed by your actions. It is formed by your assumptions. It is what you accept as true when no one is persuading you, when no book is instructing you, when no voice is encouraging you. It is what you feel yourself to be in the privacy of your own awareness. And that feeling, whether noble or small, becomes the mold into which your life is poured. The visible world is the great trap of man. He looks at his circumstances and calls them facts. He points to balances, to debts, to obstacles, to delays, and says, "This is reality." But I tell you that the visible world is not the cause, it is the evidence. It is not the seed, it is the harvest. And no farmer mistakes the harvest for the planting. If the field is barren, he does not curse the soil, he changes the seed. But man curses his circumstances endlessly while continuing to plant the same identity, night after night, thought after thought, word after word. The man who pursues money lives by sight. He looks at conditions and lets them define him. He says, "When I see more, then I will feel more." And because he has reversed the law, he must wait endlessly. The man who assumes wealth lives by spirit. He feels first and allows sight to follow. He says, "Because I feel more now, I shall see more then." And because he stands on the side of cause rather than effect, he moves the invisible levers of reality itself. The birth of the Creator within you begins at the exact moment you stop asking the world for permission to be. The moment you no longer negotiate with circumstances. The moment you cease explaining yourself to appearances. The moment you silently decide, without proof and without applause, "I am." Not "I may be," not "I will be," but "I am now." From that moment forward, every outer condition becomes provisional. Every obstacle becomes temporary. Every delay becomes irrelevant, because the end has already been accepted inwardly as fact. The man who assumes does not oppose the world. He simply outgrows it. He does not fight his bank account. He ceases to consult it for identity. He does not argue with opposition. He withdraws his attention from it. And attention is the only food the visible world eats. Starve it of belief, and it withers. Feed it with fear, and it grows. The man who pursues throws his attention like coins into every appearance, and wonders why he remains poor. The man who assumes gathers his attention inwardly and becomes rich before a single outer sign appears. There is no cruelty in the law, there is only literalness. The law never asks what you meant, it only answers what you are. If you walk inwardly, as one who struggles, struggle must follow you like a shadow. If you walk inwardly, as one who is chosen, chosen you must become. If you walk inwardly, as one who waits, waiting will stretch endlessly before you. If you walk inwardly as one who already possesses, possession must clothe itself in form. And so the great separation between the man who pursues and the man who assumes is not found in activity, but in identity. Both may work, both may plan, both may speak. But one works from hunger and the other from fullness. One plans from fear and the other from certainty. One speaks from doubt and the other from knowing. And the law cannot be bribed by the outer man's labor. It bows only to the inner man's state. When the Creator within you awakens, something strange occurs. You no longer feel compelled to prove. You no longer chase signs. You no longer beg time to hurry. You begin to move with a quiet gravity. Your words slow. Your breath deepens, your reactions soften, and the world, sensing a shift it cannot explain, begins to reorganize itself around you. People respond differently. Doors open without resistance. Provision arrives without struggle, not because you demanded it, but because you finally stopped denying it inwardly. The tragedy of man is not that he fails. It is that he tries to succeed from the wrong side of the law. He tries to force the effect while leaving the cause untouched. He attempts to rearrange shadows without moving the object that casts them. And he grows weary, not because the law is difficult, but because he is walking against the current of his own being. Tonight, as you listen, the pursuer in you is being gently laid to rest. You are not here to chase a future. You are here to enter an identity. You are not here to argue with facts. You are here to generate causes. You are not here as the one who hopes wealth may arrive. You are here as the one who allows wealth to express itself through you. The inner beggar must die, so the inner creator may live. And this death is not violent. It is soft. It is the simple refusal to continue kneeling to appearances. It is the quiet withdrawal of faith from the evidence of your senses, and the return of that faith to your own awareness of being. It is the moment you realize that nothing outside you has ever had authority over you, except by your own consent. The world has trained you to seek. I now remind you how to be. And in that being, the law begins to move without delay. Your concept of self is the silent architect of everything that enters your world. It is not your education that decides your income. It is not your age that determines your destiny. It is not your connections that govern your opportunities. It is the image you hold of yourself when no one is watching. It is the quiet feeling of who you believe yourself to be when the mind is not performing and the mouth is not explaining. That feeling, unseen yet absolute, is the engine that moves the machinery of your life. You never rise above the identity you consistently occupy. You may visit higher states with hope and imagination, but you will always return to the level of being you secretly accept as true. A man may dream of wealth with great excitement, but if he returns afterward to the feeling of one who must struggle, to the identity of one who waits, to the posture of one who hopes, his dream evaporates like mist in the sun. The law never punishes the dream. It simply rewards the identity. What you call your life is nothing more than a mirror, reflecting your self-concept in motion. The mirror does not decide what to show. It only shows what stands before it. And the world does not decide what to give. It only echoes what you are being. If you feel small, life contracts. If you feel chosen, life expands. If you feel delayed, delay hardens around you. If you feel established, stability appears as if summoned. Two men may walk down the same street. They may breathe the same air. They may live under the same sky. But one sees doors where the other sees walls. One hears opportunity where the other hears noise. One interprets delay as preparation. The other interprets it as rejection. And the difference between them is not circumstance, it is consciousness. It is the silent assumption each carries like a garment. The wealthy man is not simply a man with money. He is a man with a settled identity. He does not fluctuate inwardly with every passing condition. He does not tremble when a number changes. He does not lose himself when a season shifts. His wealth is sustained not by his account, but by his state. And that state, once stabilized, makes the outer form almost irrelevant. Money becomes an effect rather than a prize. The poor man is not defined by his lack of money. He is defined by his lack of self-consent. He seeks permission to be more. He looks outside for validation. He judges himself by appearances. And because he does not know who he is inwardly, the world must constantly tell him what he is not. He waits for life to change before he changes. And because he reverses the law, he waits indefinitely. Your identity does not form through effort. It forms through repetition of feeling. What you feel habitually becomes what you are. What you are becomes what you express. What you express becomes what you experience. This chain is unbroken, and no amount of action at the far end of the chain can undo what has already been fixed at the beginning. The world is not reacting to your desires. It is responding to your self-definition. You may labor tirelessly, but if you feel unworthy, labor will be your constant companion. You may dream boldly, but if you feel unchosen, boldness will collapse into disappointment. You may affirm abundance, but if your identity remains rooted in scarcity, your words will be sound without substance. The mirror reflects substance, not speech. The world is a perfect servant, but a terrible master. It will faithfully display whatever identity you sustain. It will never challenge your assumptions. It will never question your beliefs. It will never interrupt your story. It will simply act it out. And this is why I tell you that the entire battle is not outside. It is within. The war is not with circumstances. It is with the inner name you answer to. You do not receive according to your needs. You do not receive according to your prayers. You do not receive according to your worth in the eyes of men. You receive according to who you consent to be in consciousness. You live from identity, not toward identity. And until this truth becomes clear, man will continue to stumble in the dark, asking why the world will not change, unaware that the world is only repeating him. If you change your concept of self, everything that touches you must change. Not some things, not most things, all things. The people who enter your life will be different. The way they speak to you will be different. The way they respond to you will be different. The opportunities that arise will be different. The way doors open will be different. But nothing changes because the world decided to improve. Everything changes because you decided to be. The mirror does not choose what it shows. The identity you wear chooses. And identity is not something you wear occasionally. It is what you breathe. It is what you assume without effort. It is what feels normal. Normal is the most dangerous word in the world because whatever feels normal becomes permanent. If lack feels normal, it becomes your climate. If abundance feels normal, it becomes your environment. You do not become wealthy by accumulating. You become wealthy by assuming. Accumulation follows assumption, not the other way around. Identity is always first. Form always follows. This is why sudden wealth often disappears from those who receive it without inner change. The state was not rebuilt, only the circumstance was altered, and the old identity quietly reasserts itself and restores the familiar condition. But when the identity shifts, even temporarily, the world rushes to match it. The law moves with astonishing speed when it encounters a stabilized state. It does not hesitate. It does not delay. It does not negotiate. It reorganizes. The moment you truly feel that you are the one who already has, the universe begins its quiet rearrangement. The man who knows who he is does not demand proof. He does not chase reassurance. He does not need circumstances to agree. He moves with an inner authority that comes not from arrogance, but from alignment. He has touched the cause, and once the cause is touched, the effects become inevitable. You cannot pretend identity. You can only assume it. And assumption is not performance. It is acceptance. It is the moment you stop arguing with your own becoming. It is the moment you say inwardly, without tension and without drama, "This is who I am now." When you do that with feeling, the bridge of incidents begins to form. You do not build the bridge, you walk it. Your world has always been a mirror. It has never been your enemy. It has never been your judge. It has only been your reflection. The image changed. The reflection must change. The state shifted. The outcome must follow. The law has no alternative. It can only agree with you. And so tonight, as you move deeper into this awareness, understand this with absolute clarity. Wealth is not a reward. It is a response. It is not given for virtue. It is reflected from identity. It is not earned from effort. It is echoed from assumption. And the moment you stop asking whether you deserve it and begin assuming that you are it, the mirror will change. Man has been taught to worship his thoughts, but I tell you plainly, thought alone has no creative power unless it is wedded to feeling. You may think 1,000 noble ideas and leave your world untouched. You may speak 1,000,000 beautiful words and remain in the same condition. But the moment a feeling grips you, the moment a mood settles in your chest and becomes true to your nervous system, your world begins to reorganize. Feeling is the seed. Thought is only the vehicle that may or may not carry it to the soil. The subconscious mind does not reason. It does not analyze. It does not debate. It does not compare. It feels. And what it feels as true, it must express. This is why so many repeat affirmations endlessly and see no change. They speak from the lips while the heart contradicts. They declare abundance while feeling anxious. They call themselves rich while their body remains tense with fear. And the subconscious listens not to the declaration, but to the atmosphere beneath it. It obeys the feeling, not the sentence. You may say, "I am wealthy," 100 times with a tight chest and a restless mind, and nothing will move. But one single moment of quiet, satisfied knowing, one gentle wave of relief, one true inner sigh of "it is done," carries more creative power than a lifetime of strained repetition. For the law does not respond to noise. It responds to conviction. The feeling is the true vibration. It is the only vibration. Everything else is description. You may imagine scenes, you may repeat words, you may study principles, but if the inner state remains unchanged, the outer world remains faithful to the old pattern. The world does not mirror your techniques. It mirrors your temperature. It mirrors your inner climate. It mirrors the emotional weather you live in. Feeling is not emotion in the dramatic sense. It is not excitement. It is not force. It is not frenzy. True feeling is quieter than that. It is deeper. It is the settled sense of being. It is the calm knowing that something is already secured. It is the relaxed certainty that replaces effort. It is the stillness that follows acceptance. When a thing is truly yours inwardly, you are no longer strained about it. You are peaceful, and peace is the signature of possession. The error of many is that they try to force feeling through excitement. They try to generate joy as proof. But joy is not always the sign. Relief is, calm is, the quiet absence of struggle is. When you have truly assumed a state, your nervous system stops preparing for battle. The breath deepens. The shoulders soften. The mind releases its constant planning. And you enter what I call the Sabbath. The rest that follows creative work. You cannot affirm from hunger. Hunger only generates more hunger. You cannot declare from desperation. Desperation only echoes itself. The moment you use affirmations as a weapon against fear, you have already confessed fear as your state. The law hears that confession and answers it faithfully. This is why I say that all creation is finished. You are not trying to make something happen. You are selecting what already exists by entering the feeling of it. To generate the feeling of wealth, you do not need to pretend to be excited. You need to allow yourself to be satisfied. Ask yourself quietly, without pressure, how would I feel if this were already done? Not how would I celebrate? Not how would I boast? But how would I rest? Would your breath slow? Would your jaw loosen? Would your thoughts soften? Would your urgency dissolve? That is the feeling. That is the vibration. Wealth does not feel frantic. It does not feel rushed. It does not feel tight. It feels spacious. It feels secure. It feels unthreatened by time. It feels unbothered by silence. When a man is truly provided for inwardly, he is not watching the clock. He is not scanning for danger. He is not bargaining with life. He moves with ease. He waits without tension. He walks without fear. That is the state you must enter. The subconscious is impressed through mood, not through logic. If you lie upon your bed and feel yourself safe, provided for, chosen, supplied, without forcing images and without straining words, that mood will sink into the depths far more powerfully than any dramatic visualization. The law is not impressed by effort, it is impressed by naturalness. Whatever feels normal becomes law. If wealth feels foreign to you, it is not because it is far away. It is because your nervous system has not been trained to accept it as natural. You must gently let abundance become familiar, not by fantasy, but by feeling, by allowing your body to experience the calm of having, by letting your heart beat, learn security, by letting your breath practice fullness. These are not poetic phrases. They are physiological doors through which states enter. When you affirm while feeling poor, you divide yourself, and division is the death of power. When your words go one way, and your feeling goes another, the feeling always wins. The subconscious always sides with the emotional truth. This is why I say again and again, do not say a word you cannot first feel as true. Silence is more powerful than false affirmation. The richest prayer you will ever pray is not spoken. It is felt. It is the sensation of being supported without needing to explain why. It is the inner ease that follows acceptance. It is the feeling of already belonging to the state you once chased. When that feeling becomes stable, the world rushes to confirm it. But until it does, nothing on the surface can override it. You have been taught to watch your thoughts. I say to you, watch your feelings. Thoughts may pass like clouds, but feeling is the climate. Thoughts may flicker for a moment, but feeling decides the season. You may think of success and return to fear. The fear will win. You may imagine abundance and return to tension. The tension will rule. But the moment you hold the mood of fulfillment long enough for it to become familiar, you have entered the creative chamber. True feeling does not demand. It expects, and expectation is quiet. It is not noisy, it does not shout its certainty. It lives it. The man who expects provision does not speak much about money. He does not rehearse lack. He does not dramatize bills. He lives inwardly as one already carried by life, and life, faithful mirror that it is, carries him. There is a great difference between emotional excitement and assumed being. Excitement is sharp and short-lived. Being is steady and deep. Excitement burns quickly and vanishes. Being becomes atmosphere, and the subconscious responds only to atmosphere. It responds only to what surrounds it constantly. When your inner world becomes quiet and satisfied, wealth is already impressed. The moment you can think of money without tension, without rush, without longing, without collapse, you have already shifted states. You have already crossed the threshold. The outer world may lag behind, but it is only catching up. The calm is the signal. The calm tells you the seed has been planted. When you no longer feel the need to prove, to chase, to persuade, to beg, to check, to worry, the law is already moving. When you can lie in bed and absorb silence without panic, wealth is already forming. When you can wait without agitation, you have already assumed possession. Do not seek excitement. Seek naturalness. Do not force joy. Allow satisfaction. Do not command the feeling. Welcome it. Feeling is not something you push into place. It is something you consent to. And the moment you consent, it enters. The true vibration of wealth does not shout. It hums softly beneath the surface. It is the steady current of knowing that nothing is missing. And when nothing is missing inwardly, nothing can remain missing outwardly. Faith is not what the world has taught you to call belief. Belief may rise and fall with news. Belief may strengthen with proof and weaken with delay. Belief is often an agreement of the mind, but faith is something far deeper. Faith is a sensation. It is a bodily knowing. It is a quiet, inner verdict that has already been passed long before the court of the world convenes. Faith does not wait for confirmation. Faith does not negotiate with appearances. Faith is the invisible proof that stands complete before the visible evidence ever begins to form. The scriptures say that faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. This is not poetry. This is a description of mechanics. Substance is not imagination. Substance is feeling. Evidence is not circumstance. Evidence is inner conviction. When you feel a thing as real, your body responds. Your breath changes. Your muscles soften. Your nervous system adjusts. The body begins to live from a future that the eyes have not yet touched. And when the body has accepted the state as present, the subconscious has already received the order. Hope is light and airy. It floats ahead of you like a fragile ribbon. It says one day. Faith says now. Hope imagines. Faith inhabits. Hope is a visitor. Faith is a resident. You may believe that wealth is possible for others. You may even believe it could happen for you. But the moment you feel wealthy, you are no longer believing. You are being. And being is the only state the law obeys. The body is the secret witness of faith. You can listen to your body and know instantly whether you are hoping or assuming. Hope is restless. Faith is settled. Hope tightens the chest. Faith releases it. Hope scans the future. Faith rests in the present. Hope watches the clock. Faith forgets time entirely. The moment your body reacts as though the desire were already fulfilled, the instruction has passed beyond the realm of thought. It has entered the realm of command. The subconscious does not receive instructions through logic. It receives through embodiment. The moment your body carries the posture of completion, the order is sealed. The shoulders no longer brace. The stomach no longer tightens. The jaw no longer clenches. You breathe as one who no longer needs to defend the future. That breath is the order. That relaxation is the decree. That quiet is the signature that the subconscious recognizes as truth. Faith does not depend on results because faith precedes results. If you wait for the world to move before you relax, you will wait forever. That is the old order. The new order is the reversal of cause and effect. You relax first. You settle first. You become inwardly satisfied first. And the world, finding no resistance in you, begins to reorganize around that stillness. The man of faith does not argue with delay. He understands that delay is only perception. He knows that creation begins in silence long before it speaks in form. He does not grow anxious when nothing seems to happen. He grows still. And stillness is not emptiness. Stillness is readiness. Stillness is the womb of form. Stillness is the place where the unseen gathers power. There is a moment, subtle, almost unnoticed, when faith crosses from thought into flesh. It is the moment when your inner speech quiets and your body functions as though the matter were already settled. You may be sitting alone, you may be walking quietly, you may be lying on your bed, and suddenly, without fireworks, without drama, the struggle falls away. The question dissolves. The future loses its sharp edge. In that moment, the order is given. You do not hear the subconscious accept the command. There is no sound. There is only peace. And peace is the proof that the seed has entered the soil. When you feel that peace, do not reach for more techniques. Do not continue to strive. Do not try to do manifestation. You have already done it. Rest is the confirmation. The world has trained you to think that faith is believing without seeing. But true faith is feeling without seeing. Belief may remain in the head. Faith descends into the nervous system. Belief argues with doubt. Faith is not disturbed by it. Belief may collapse under pressure. Faith deepens under silence. Belief seeks reassurance. Faith does not require witnesses. The body always moves first. Long before the world changes, the body already knows. Long before the letter arrives, the relief is already present. Long before the money appears, the security has already settled. Long before the door opens, the heart has already walked through it. The body is not waiting for proof. The body has already accepted the verdict. This is why signs follow. Signs do not precede. The man who demands evidence before he will rest is declaring fear as his state, and fear cannot command abundance. The man who rests before evidence appears is declaring faith as his identity, and faith moves the mountains that fear prays about endlessly. When the subconscious receives the order, it does not hurry in human time. It moves in structural time. It rearranges conditions. It redirects conversations. It shifts encounters. It engineers bridges of incidents that appear natural to the outer man but are perfectly orchestrated in the invisible. You will not feel it working. You will not sense the machinery turning. You will simply awaken one day to a changed environment that feels as though it has always been inevitable. The instant the subconscious receives the instruction, it stops asking how. It stops questioning possibility. It stops reviewing your past. It cares nothing for statistics. It obeys only the state. And the state it obeys is the one your body inhabits most naturally. This is why faith cannot be forced through excitement. Forced excitement is still tension. Faith feels like relief before evidence. It feels like the end of the argument. It feels like the comfort of finality. When the decision has been made and there is nothing left to discuss, that is faith. The moment you stop peering into the future with anxiety and begin carrying the future as memory, faith has become sensation. The future feels remembered instead of hoped for. And this is the doorway through which it must pass into form. There are many who believe in the law. There are few who feel the end. The difference between them is the difference between reading a map and walking on land. The map is belief. The land is faith. The map speaks of possibility. The land speaks of arrival. If you wish to know whether you have truly entered faith, do not examine your thoughts. Examine your body when you are alone. Are you rushed? Are you braced? Are you watching time? Or are you breathing? As one who has already seen the outcome in secret, your body always tells the truth. Faith does not shout. Faith whispers. Faith does not compel. Faith settles. Faith does not rush the seed. Faith rests in the harvest before the field has even been sown in visible form. That rest is the creative act. All action after that is merely the shadow play of a decision already made in the depths. When the subconscious receives the order, asking stops. When the order is sealed, pursuit ends. When the decision has entered the flesh, waiting dissolves. And when waiting dissolves, the bridge begins. There is a narrow doorway through which all creation passes, though most men cross it each night without knowing what they hold in their hands. It is not waking, and it is not sleep, yet it touches both. I have called it the state akin to sleep. In that state, the outer world loosens its grip, the senses withdraw their tyranny, and the imagination, freed from the noise of reason, stands naked and receptive before the depths of the subconscious. This is the sacred interval. This is the altar. This is the place where the invisible is commanded to take on form. All day long, the conscious mind debates, measures, doubts, compares. It weighs facts. It calculates risk. It listens to voices shaped by fear and habit. But as night comes and the body begins to yield, that vigilant guard grows weary. The will softens. The sharp edges of thought dissolve. And in that gentle descent, the inner world becomes accessible. You are no longer wrestling with appearances. You are no longer arguing with history. You are no longer defending limitation. You are simply aware, and awareness, when stripped of effort, becomes the womb of creation. Just before sleep, the world turns quiet, not only outside you, but within you. The eyes grow heavy, the breath slows, the muscles release. And as the body relaxes, the mind follows. In that surrender, the conscious critic steps aside. The subconscious opens its gates, and whatever you carry into that moment in feeling, whatever state you accept as real in that borderland, enters without resistance and begins to organize your future. This is why I say that the night is the great benefactor of man. During the day, he fights. At night, he surrenders. During the day, he tries to force spirit into matter. At night, spirit flows into matter naturally. This is not poetry. It is law. The subconscious never sleeps. It works ceaselessly, but it only builds from what has been impressed upon it. And the deepest impressions are given when the conscious mind is at rest. In the waking state, you may imagine the end and immediately argue with it. You may declare abundance and instantly find reasons to doubt it. But in the state akin to sleep, there is no energy left for argument. The world is already fading. The senses have lost their authority. The imagination becomes the only reality left standing. And what you accept there as true must clothe itself in form. I tell you plainly, the subconscious does not resist you at that hour. It does not test your sincerity. It does not examine your past. It does not question your worth. It simply receives. It is like fertile soil, waiting not to judge the seed, but to grow it. If you plant fear there, it will bear fear. If you plant security, it will bear provision. If you plant lack, it will bear struggle. And if you plant the feeling of wealth fulfilled, it will bear its harvest without delay in the only season it knows. Men fail not because the law is weak, but because they flood this sacred threshold with chaos. They fall asleep, scrolling through worry, rehearsing failure, replaying humiliation, counting debts, anticipating loss. And then they wonder why the same patterns greet them at dawn. They have planted the seed faithfully. The law has obeyed faithfully, and still they call it misfortune. When you enter this state with intention, everything changes. You no longer drift, you arrive. You no longer fall into sleep as a victim of habit. You cross the threshold as a creator. You choose the state you will wear into the depths, and whatever you wear into the night, you must awaken clothed in its reflection. One single scene, if chosen wisely and felt deeply, is sufficient to command an entire future. It need not be complex. The subconscious does not require detail. It requires implication. The scene must simply imply that your wish is already fulfilled. A brief handshake, a single sentence of congratulation, a quiet moment of satisfaction as you look at something that proves the end has been reached. The smaller the scene, the easier it is to repeat. The simpler the act, the deeper it sinks. The great error of many is that they attempt to visualize too much. They strain to build a world instead of entering a state. They move scenes rapidly. They force emotion. They exhaust the imagination, and fatigue breaks the spell. The subconscious is impressed by naturalness, not by labor. When the act feels like effort, it ceases to be prayer. When it feels like rest, it becomes creative. You are not trying to see the future. You are trying to feel the present from a different identity. The imaginal act is not a film you watch. It is a reality you inhabit briefly until it becomes familiar. You must feel it as though it were happening now, not as though it might happen one day. And then you let it go. You do not cling. You do not wait for a sign. You allow sleep to take you while the feeling remains. The moment you cross into sleep, still feeling the reality of your desire, the act is sealed. The order has been given in the only language the subconscious understands: sensation. From that moment forward, the bridge of incidents begins to assemble. You will not know when it begins. You will not see the first movement. You will not hear the command echo through the unseen, but it will move, and it cannot fail. The state akin to sleep is not achieved through force. It comes naturally when you cease trying to be awake. You do not enter it by willpower. You enter it by surrender. Lie down. Let the body grow heavy. Allow the breath to become slow and rhythmical. Let the edges of thought soften. And when you feel that pleasant drowsiness, not yet asleep but no longer fully awake, that is the door. That slight suspension between worlds is the portal. In that moment, do not rush to see many things. Touch one thing. Do not speak many words. Hear one word. Do not demand great emotion. Accept quiet relief. Let it be enough. Let the simplicity carry power. Then sleep. Let creation do what it has always done without your supervision. Understand this deeply. You are not working to make something happen. You are consenting to what already is in the deeper dimension of being. The moment you accept it there, you release it here. The night receives first. The day follows. I have seen men transform their lives without lifting a finger, outwardly, once they learned this gate. Not because they became passive, but because they stopped struggling with effects and learned to command causes. Their days changed because their nights were changed. Their world softened because their inner state softened. Their wealth grew because they no longer went to sleep as beggars in consciousness. This state is not mystical in the way the world imagines mysticism. It is natural. It is intimate. It is quiet. It belongs to every man. You have entered it thousands of times. You simply did not know where you were. Now you do. And now you may choose what you carry through it. Each night, you are given a blank tablet upon which the law will write the next chapter of your life. Most men allow habit to hold the pen. You may now take it in your own hand. Not with tension, not with force, with calm acceptance, with gentle assumption, with the quiet authority of one who knows that imagination is not a toy, but God in action within the soul. And when you understand this, you will never again fall asleep unconsciously. You will cross that threshold as one who knows that the worlds are joined there, and that what is felt there must inevitably be expressed here. Then let us now walk together, slowly, through the simple living practice of this law. I do not want you to leave this as a beautiful idea only. I want you to be able to lie down tonight and know exactly what to do, how to breathe, how to relax, how to feel, how to cross that threshold into the wealth state as naturally as closing your eyes. Begin always with what is natural to you. Do not try to be spiritual in some artificial sense. Do not sit upright in discomfort, trying to be holy. Use the posture in which you normally fall asleep. If you prefer to lie on your back, lie on your back. If you fall asleep more easily on your side, then take that posture. The law works through what is familiar. The subconscious responds best when the body feels at home. So now, in imagination, place yourself in your own bed, as you will be tonight. Feel the mattress supporting you. Feel the weight of your body sinking gently into it. Let your head rest where it always rests. Nothing strange, nothing forced. You are preparing the temple, not building a new one. Now we attend to the breath. Do not attempt any complicated pattern. Simply become aware of your breathing. Notice that it is already happening without your help. You are not making yourself breathe. Life itself is breathing you. Watch it. Feel the coolness of the air as it enters the nostrils. Notice the slight warmth as it leaves. Let each exhale be a small release. With every out-breath, say inwardly, I let go. Not as words to repeat endlessly, but as a feeling of softening, of surrender. Allow the breath to become slow and even, like waves on a quiet shore. Now bring your attention to the body, piece by piece, and invite it to rest. You may begin with the feet. Feel them, not as ideas, but as actual sensations. Notice any tightness in the toes, in the arches, in the ankles, and then, as you exhale, imagine the weight leaving them, as though they melted gently into the bed. Then move slowly upward. The calves, the knees, the thighs. With each breath, each region of the body becomes heavier, looser, more relaxed. There is nothing you must hold. The bed will hold you. Let your hips drop. Let the lower back soften. If you notice tension, do not fight it. Simply breathe and imagine that region becoming warm and heavy, as though the substance of the body were turning from stone to water and sinking deeper into the mattress. Let the abdomen loosen. Let the chest expand freely. The heart beats without your supervision. The lungs fill and empty without command. You are being lived. You may relax. Now bring this soft attention into your shoulders. Many of you carry the weight of the day there. The decisions, the burdens, the questions of money and survival. As you breathe out, imagine hands lifting that weight from your shoulders. See it falling away behind you. Feel your shoulders drop. Let the arms grow limp. The hands, the fingers, every joint, every muscle, slack, warm, surrendered. Finally, the neck, the jaw, the tongue, the eyes, the forehead. Allow the tongue to rest softly in the mouth. Unclench the teeth. Let the skin of the face loosen. Let the eyes sink back as though bathing in darkness. The brow smooths out. There is nothing left to do. The outer man has laid down his tools for the day. You are approaching the borderland. Now in this growing stillness, you choose your scene. Do not be anxious about choosing the perfect one. You are not writing a novel. You are selecting a single living moment that implies your wealth is already a fact. It must be short. It must be simple. It must be something you can repeat gently, without strain. Perhaps it is this. You see your own hand holding a bank book or statement with an amount that for you signifies abundance. You do not study every number. You simply see enough to know this is more than enough. Or perhaps you hear the voice of a trusted friend saying, "I'm so happy for you. You're doing so well financially now." Or it may be as simple as you standing at a window in your own home and feeling that everything is paid, everything is safe, everything is overflowing. Choose one. Only one. The law does not need variety. It needs certainty. Once you have chosen, commit to it for this night. You may use the same scene again tomorrow, if it is effective. But for now, you stay with this one. Now gently begin to enter it, not as an observer watching yourself from a distance, but as the one living it. If in your scene you are holding a bank statement, then in imagination feel the paper between your fingers. Feel its texture. Thin, smooth, perhaps slightly cool. Sense the slight weight of it in your hand. See only enough of the figures to give you the sensation of abundance. Do not try to read every detail. The subconscious does not need to read. It needs to feel. Let the scene be blurred wherever it does not matter, and clear only where it carries meaning. If in your scene someone speaks to you, do not see your own face listening to them. Be behind your own eyes. Hear their voice as you would hear it in waking life. Feel the small distance between you and the other person. Hear the tone of joy, of admiration, of relief in their words. "I'm so happy for you. You're finally free. Look at what has happened for you." Let those words move through your body. Let your chest loosen. Let the corners of your mouth rise in a soft, natural smile. As you hold this scene, engage as many senses as you can, but always without force. If your moment is in a room, feel the fabric of the clothing you're wearing. Sense the temperature of the air against your skin. If you are holding an object, feel its weight, its texture. If you are in sunlight, feel the warmth on your face. If you are indoors, sense the quiet, the familiar sounds, the ticking of a clock, the distant hum of life. Do not strain to invent them. Allow them to arise gently as they would in a remembered moment. The key now is to let the feeling of already done soak through you. You are not looking at the scene and thinking, "One day this will happen." You are standing inside it, knowing, "This is my life now." Notice what happens to your body as you accept that. Often the first sign is not excitement, but relief. A deep, sweet, softening in the chest, a loosening in the stomach. The breath becomes even more easy. The forehead smooths. That relief is precious. It is the very vibration of fulfillment. If thoughts of what, how, or when try to intrude, do not fight them like enemies. Fighting keeps them alive. Instead, let them pass by like distant voices in another room. You are not required to answer them. You return your attention to the little scene, to the feeling of the "it is already so." You may support this with a simple inward phrase, spoken softly in the mind, such as, "Isn't it wonderful?" or "I have it now." Not repeated mechanically, but allowed to rise and fall with the breath as an expression of the feeling, not a substitute for it. Now, as drowsiness increases, you will notice that the edges of the scene want to blur, that the mind grows slower. This is good. This is what we want. Do not snap yourself back to sharp clarity. Do not think that because the image is not vivid, it is not working. You are not painting a picture. You are clothing a state. If the scene reduces to only fragments, the feeling of a hand, the sound of a voice, the sense of satisfaction, let that be enough. The feeling is the life. The images are only garments. If your mind wanders away entirely for a moment to some memory, some stray thought, do not scold yourself. Gently return. Like a mother taking a child's hand, bring your attention back to that simple, fulfilled moment. Step into it again. Feel again that everything is done, everything is safe, everything is abundant, and rest there. The art now is to allow sleep to overtake you without dropping the state. You are not trying to hold the scene rigidly until you cannot bear it. That is force, and force belongs to lack. Instead, let the feeling become the background of your being, like a soft music playing while you drift deeper into night. If the exact picture begins to fade, but the mood of "I am provided for, I am wealthy, I am free" remains, you have succeeded. Do not suddenly think, "I must stop and roll over and think about something else to fall asleep." Let the very act of drift be part of the imaginal experience. For example, if your scene is you in your own home, you might imagine that you are now simply going to bed in that already fulfilled life. The pillow under your head is the pillow of the man who has plenty. The cover over your body belongs to the one whose bills are paid. The darkness in the room is the gentle dark of a life at peace. In this way, the actual sensations of your present bed are woven into the assumed reality. There is no break, no interruption. If you feel yourself reaching for more intensity, trying to force excitement, or insist on a certain response in the body, relax. Wealth is not frantic. True possession is quiet. The calm, deep, unhurried sense of "it is all right now" is a more accurate vibration of riches than a feverish thrill. Let your proof be peace. If you lie there and feel, "I could sleep like this forever. Nothing is pressing. Nothing is chasing me," you are in the wealth state. Remember, always, the law of ease. The creative act is not strain. The seed does not sweat to become a tree. It lies in the earth and allows the unseen forces to do their work. Your part is to choose the seed, the state, and to drop it into the soil of the subconscious with feeling. The rest is not your concern. How it will unfold, through whom it will come, in what sequence of events, it is not your task to design that. You would only limit it. Your task is to feel the end and let it go. So as you now lie in your familiar position, breath gentle, body heavy, scene softly playing, or simply implied, let yourself approach the thin line where waking slips into sleep. You will know it by that pleasant floating sensation, that moment when the thoughts become fragments and yet the feeling remains. Do not jerk yourself back to check if you are doing it right. Trust, fall, sink. Say quietly within yourself, perhaps only once, "It is done," or "Thank you," and then give yourself to the darkness as one who has already been answered. The state will go with you. The subconscious has heard. It will spend the night building, arranging, calling, aligning. You are not needed for that work. You are only needed to stop interfering. If on any night you find it particularly difficult, your mind hungry for worry, your body restless, be kinder with yourself, not harsher. Even a few moments of genuine relief, a few breaths in the feeling of "what if it really were all solved," are powerful seeds. The law does not measure in hours, it measures in sincerity. One instant of true assumption carries more creative power than an hour of forced imagining. Do this each night. Make it your gentle ritual, not a duty, not a task, but a return to your true home. You are, in truth, the wealthy one, already in imagination. In these moments before sleep, you simply remember it. You choose to leave the day as a poor man's dream and enter the night as a rich man's reality. And in time, the day will be forced to agree with the night. So tonight, When the lamp is extinguished and silence fills the room, do not fall asleep as the man the world has told you that you are. Fall asleep as the man you have chosen to be, secure, abundant, provided for, at ease. Let the breath bear witness to this. Let the body recline in it. Let your last feeling before crossing that invisible river be, I have it now. And then, my friend, rest. The law is awake while you sleep. Man has been trained to believe that feeling follows fact, that joy comes after success, that relief comes after provision, that peace comes after the problem is solved. This seems logical to the senses, and yet it is the exact inversion of the law by which life actually works. For if feeling truly followed fact, then no new fact could ever be born. We would only be allowed to feel what already exists. Creation would be impossible. Growth would be forbidden. Hope would be a mockery. The future would be nothing more than a repetition of the past. But the law is the reverse of what the world teaches. Feeling does not follow fact. Fact follows feeling. The inner state comes first. The outer condition must follow. And this reversal is not symbolic. It is literal. As the feeling is, so must the world become. You are not waiting to receive in order to feel. You are feeling in order to receive. The moment this truth is grasped, the entire struggle of life is lifted from the shoulders of man. You do not wait for money to arrive so that you may finally relax. You relax now so that money may arrive. You do not wait for security to appear so that you may rest. You rest now so that security may be expressed. You do not wait for freedom to be granted to you. You assume freedom so that the chains dissolve. The world is not generous, it is obedient. It does not reward, it reflects. The man who says, when I have more, then I will feel safe, has condemned himself to eternal unrest. For safety never comes as the result of accumulation. Safety is an inner posture, and until that posture is assumed, no amount of provision will quiet the inner storm. There are men drowning in abundance who live in terror, and there are men with little who live in peace. The difference is not what they have, it is how they feel about themselves. The feeling you carry now is both the cause of your present world and the effect of your previous inner states. It is the seed and the harvest at once. This is what I mean by reversibility. The same feeling that once arose as a result of outer conditions can now be deliberately generated as the cause of new conditions. What once came to you because of circumstance can now be summoned by assumption. You reverse the order by reversing the origin. Consider a simple example. A man receives a letter informing him that a large debt has been cancelled. The moment he reads it, his chest loosens, his breath deepens, his mind quiets. Relief flows through his body. Now the world says that the letter caused the relief, but I say to you that relief is the state, and the letter is only the shadow that appeared when that state was accepted as real. If he had learned to feel that same relief before any letter arrived, the law would have been compelled to generate the conditions that justify that feeling. The feeling is always first in the unseen dimension, even when the world pretends it is second. The same is true of wealth. The world teaches you to feel rich after the money arrives. The law teaches you to feel rich so that the money may arrive. The world says, wait and see. The law says, assume and receive. The world delays. The law fulfills. And every man must choose daily which authority he will obey. You ask, how can I feel something that is not yet true? And I answer you calmly. You already feel many things that are not visibly true yet. Take them as real. You feel fear of tomorrow, though tomorrow has not come. You feel regret for yesterday, though yesterday is gone. You feel hope for a future, though you cannot touch it. And all these feelings operate as if the events were present. If you can generate fear for something that has not happened, you can generate fulfillment for something that has not yet appeared. The mechanism is the same, only the direction changes. The feeling acts as both cause and effect, because it is the bridge between the invisible and the visible. It is born in the unseen, but it moves the seen. It arises inwardly, but it rearranges outwardly. It is the messenger and the decree at once. Once a feeling is accepted as real by the subconscious, the world must conduct itself so that the feeling appears justified. The law cannot allow a sustained contradiction between inner state and outer fact. One must yield, and the outer always yields. I have seen this principle operate with unfailing precision. I have watched students assume the feeling of security while every visible circumstance screamed insecurity. And within days or weeks, the most natural, casual, unforced changes appeared to prove the feeling had been justified all along. Letters arrived. Meetings were arranged. Old contacts resurfaced. Unexpected doors opened. Not through struggle, through alignment. One man came to me burdened by lack. Every month he barely met his obligations. His body was tense with constant calculation. I asked him not to look at figures, not to plan more aggressively, not to argue with conditions. I asked him only to feel, each night as he fell asleep, the quiet relief of knowing that everything was handled. At first he protested. He said it felt dishonest. I told him he was already being dishonest every time he imagined disaster for tomorrow without proof. Within 3 weeks of faithfully entering that feeling of relief each night, a situation developed through his employment that doubled his income. It arrived so quietly that he later told me it felt as if it had already been true before it happened. A woman once assumed the feeling of abundance without a single visible sign of change. She began to walk differently, speak differently, rest differently. Within a short time, an inheritance issue long thought impossible was settled in her favor. She did not force the feeling because of the inheritance. The inheritance came because the feeling had already taken possession of her. This is the great secret the world misses. You are not reacting to life. Life is reacting to you. You are not a victim of conditions. Conditions are the obedient servants of your state. And you do not have to wait for the servant to bow before you feel like a master. You become the master first in spirit. The servant follows afterward in form. The rational mind will resist this because it appears backward. It will say, this is fantasy, this is foolishness, this is dangerous. But the rational mind is trained by appearances. The law is not governed by appearances. It governs them. If you allow logic alone to rule you, you will be forever trapped in repetition. The future will be nothing but the rearranged furniture of the past. The only power that can break the cycle is the deliberate assumption of a new feeling without waiting for permission from the senses. That assumption is not denial of facts. It is replacement of causes. You are not pretending the old world does not exist. You are entering the new one in advance, so that the old must dissolve. Do not confuse this with emotional suppression. You are not forcing yourself to be cheerful while trembling inside. You are changing the inner verdict. You are declaring, at the level of being, that the matter is already settled. And when that verdict sinks into the body and becomes sensation rather than thought, the law has no alternative. The moment relief becomes natural, the relief must be justified. The moment security becomes normal, security must be expressed. The moment abundance feels ordinary, abundance must appear. This is not reward. This is necessity. The law does not choose. It conforms. Many will say, but what if I feel it and nothing happens? Nothing can follow that feeling except the fact that matches it. The only reason men feel and see no change is that they do not persist until feeling becomes normal. They visit relief as a guest and return to fear as a resident. The law does not answer visits. It answers dwellings. If you feel wealthy for 5 minutes and then resume the posture of lack for the remaining 23 hours and 55 minutes, which state is dominant? Which state is being fed? Which state is being clothed in attention? The law responds to the sustained state, not the occasional excursion. When you understand this, you will stop peeking anxiously at the surface to see if the seed has sprouted. You will know that the seed grows in darkness long before it breaks the soil. You will stop asking how long it will take. You will stop demanding signs. You will simply live from the new feeling as quietly and as naturally as you once lived from the old one. This is the release from strain. This is the freedom from manipulation. This is the end of bargaining with life. You no longer say, when you give me this, I will feel that. You say, I feel this now, and you must give me its form. And the law, which never argues, bows in silence and begins its work. So feel first. Always feel first. Not with excitement, not with drama, not with tension, but with calm acceptance, with the quiet authority of one who knows that the invisible precedes the visible, that the inner verdict always becomes the outer story, that the state is the cause and the world is the echo. And when this becomes natural to you, you will see that nothing in your life was ever out of order. It was always in perfect order, according to the feeling you carried. And now you carry a new feeling. Therefore, a new order must emerge. The most powerful instrument you possess is not the hand that works, nor the mind that plans, nor the voice that speaks aloud. It is the quiet, ceaseless voice that speaks within you when no one else is listening. That inner dialogue is the true script of your life. The world you inhabit at this very moment is nothing more than the echo of sentences you have been whispering inwardly for years without realizing it. You have been praying all your life, not with folded hands, but with your habitual inner speech. The inner voice is not imagination. In the childish sense, it is identity speaking to itself. It is the conversation you hold with life in the secret place of your own being. Every time you say inwardly, "This is too hard," you are not describing a moment. You are setting a pattern. Every time you sigh and think, "Money always slips through my fingers," you are not observing a habit. You are issuing a command. The subconscious does not know the difference between a casual remark and a solemn decree. It hears only authority, and authority comes from repetition. Most men ruin themselves financially without ever uttering a word aloud. They decree their poverty in the privacy of their own minds and then wonder why the outer world obeys a verdict. They do not remember giving. They call it misfortune. They call it bad luck. They call it circumstance. But it is none of these. It is inner speech made visible. You are not poor because of what you do during the day. You are poor because of what you say to yourself at night when the world is quiet. You are not rich because of what you affirm for an hour. You are rich only when your inner voice has been changed as naturally as your breathing. The tongue that rules your destiny is not the tongue in your mouth. It is the tongue behind your thoughts. Listen carefully to how you speak about money when you are alone. Not how you speak when you are trying to be brave or optimistic, but how you speak when you are tired, when you are hurt, when you are uncertain. That is the true ruler of your finances. If your inner voice speaks in tones of apology to life, life treats you as one who must apologize. If your inner voice speaks in tones of quiet ownership, life responds with possession. Many destroy their wealth with phrases that seem harmless. It's always something. I can never get ahead. No matter what I do, it's not enough. These are not observations. They are laws being spoken into existence. The subconscious does not argue with them. It organizes itself to prove them true. And because these phrases are spoken in emotional moments, they sink deeper than any forced affirmation spoken in calm. If you wish to change your world, you must change your inward conversation with it. You must learn to speak as the man you choose to be, not as the man you have been. You do not need to shout your new identity. You must whisper it gently, naturally, as though it were already familiar. The subconscious rejects what is strained. It absorbs what feels normal. Do not attempt to replace harsh inner speech with dramatic declarations. Do not move from "I will never have enough" to "I am infinitely wealthy" in a single leap if your nervous system cannot accept it. That will only create inner conflict. The law works through naturalness, not through violence against your own feelings. Instead, guide your inner speech gradually into the tone of the prosperous man. The prosperous man does not shout his worth, he assumes it. His inner voice does not argue with life. It agrees with it. It speaks in calm sentences, such as, "Things always work out for me. There is always enough. I am looked after. Money comes to me in natural ways. I don't need to rush." These are not affirmations to be forced. These are the natural murmurs of a man who already feels safe. Your inner voice should sound like your own voice on a peaceful day. Not exalted, not dramatic, warm, ordinary, familiar. You are not trying to hypnotize yourself. You are allowing yourself to speak from a different identity. Speak inwardly as a man who does not need to prove, a man who does not need to persuade, a man who does not need to defend his future. Notice how often your inner speech measures, counts, worries, calculates, regrets, concludes. Every one of those motions is crafting tomorrow. If you review failure inwardly, you prepare more failure. If you rehearse difficulty inwardly, you invite more difficulty. The inner voice does not only describe life, it selects its continuation. You may change your inner voice at any time, not through battle, through awareness. Simply notice how it speaks. Do not condemn it. Do not fight it. Recognition alone loosens its grip. And then, gently, you offer it a new line. When it says, "This will never change," you do not argue. You simply reply inwardly, softly, "It's already changing." When it says, "I can't afford that," you may answer, "I don't need to decide that now." When it says, "I'm afraid," you may answer, "I am safe." These are not dramatic exchanges. They are not debates. They are gentle redirections. And over time, the new tone becomes the dominant one. The old voice grows weaker, not because you suppressed it, but because you starved it of consent. Do not speak to yourself as a judge. Speak as a companion. Do not threaten yourself with fear. Reassure yourself with familiarity. The prosperous man does not bully his own mind into belief. He lives from certainty so quietly that the mind naturally follows. Your inner speech should sound like the voice of one who has been provided for all his life. Not boastful, not loud, not anxious. Calm, unhurried, trusting. There's no need to rush. It will show itself. I've seen this work before. I don't need to panic. These are the invisible building stones of wealth. As these sentences become habitual, your world must reorganize to match them. Opportunities will appear that feel familiar rather than surprising. Provision will arrive that feels expected rather than shocking. Growth will feel like recognition rather than miracle. And this is the truest sign that the identity has changed. The extraordinary becomes ordinary. The inner voice does not need to be corrected all at once. It only needs to be redirected consistently. A small change in inner speech, sustained, will alter the entire architecture of your life. The law is not impressed by grand speeches. It is impressed by daily tone. Remember always, your inner voice is not talking about money. It is talking about you, and it will always make your world agree with its description. When I speak to you now of I am not offering a phrase to repeat, nor a symbol to admire, nor a doctrine to debate. I am pointing you to the very core of your being, to the only name God ever revealed of himself, and to the only name by which creation is eternally sustained. Before there was form, before there was light, before there was world, before there was man, there was awareness, and awareness, when asked its name, said only this: I am. This is not poetry. This is not metaphor. This is identity itself. You are not a body that possesses awareness. You are awareness that sustains a body. And every time you say inwardly, I am, you are touching the creative center of the universe within yourself. You are standing at the very wellspring of cause. You are not describing yourself, you are defining yourself. Men use this name carelessly. They attach it to weakness, to delay, to lack, to fear. I am tired. I am unlucky. I am poor. They believe they are describing a condition. They do not realize they are baptizing themselves into an identity. They are welding the infinite to the temporary. They are binding the creative power to a fleeting circumstance, and the law, which cannot discriminate between sacred and profane use, obeys. There is no phrase in human language more dangerous when misused than I am. For whatever follows it becomes the shape of your life. You may pray for years to be free, but if your inner voice continues to say, I am trapped, the deeper law will always honor the identity over the petition. You may affirm abundance aloud, but if inwardly you whisper, I am not enough, the whisper will outweigh the shout. The world does not answer your hopes. It answers your self-definition. The words, I am, are not an affirmation. They are not a suggestion. They are the seal of being. They are the infinite consenting to become something specific. And once consent is given, form must follow. This is why I say with absolute seriousness that you never use the name of God lightly. And the name of God is not a word. It is I am. You do not become rich by hoping to become rich. You become rich by assuming the identity of one who is rich. And that assumption begins and ends with the words, I am, spoken inwardly and accepted as truth. Not with excitement, not with tension, with calm finality. When a man truly says, I am wealthy, he does not say it as a wish. He does not say it as a challenge to fate. He says it as a description of self. quiet, unrushed, unargued. And because the subconscious recognizes identity as law, it begins at once to reorganize life to reflect that claim. This is why it is not enough to repeat noble statements. You must feel the authority behind them. You must feel that you have the right to declare yourself. For when you say I am, you are not asking permission of life. You are giving life its instruction. If you say I will be, you speak as a beggar. If you say I hope to be, you speak as a dreamer. But when you say I am, you speak as a creator. The future bows to that voice. The terrifying power of this is seen in how easily men enslave themselves. A child who once heard, "You are not good enough," and accepted it inwardly begins to whisper, "I am not enough," throughout his life, and the world faithfully reflects it in relationships, opportunity, and income. The law is not cruel, it is obedient. It cannot protect you from misusing your own identity, but the same law that binds can also free. The same word that chains can also crown. The moment a man withdraws the name I am from his old condition and attaches it to his new state, the entire direction of his life is altered, whether the world approves or not. Do not attempt to argue with appearances. Appearances are lagging reflections. They are shadows of old assumptions. You do not consult the shadow to decide the reality of the man. You consult the man. So now I tell you how to approach I am rightly. You do not rush into it emotionally. You approach it in silence. You let the outer world grow quiet. You loosen the body. You slow the breath. You allow thought to soften. And when you feel that gentle stillness where effort fades, only then do you touch the name. You do not shout it. You do not repeat it mechanically. You rest in it. I am. Let nothing follow it at first. Let it stand alone. Let it sink into you like a bell sounding in a vast cathedral. Let awareness become aware of itself. This is the highest prayer there is. Not asking, not seeking, being. And only when that stillness is present do you allow the state of wealth to attach itself naturally, not as a chant, not as strain, as an extension of identity. I am secure. I am provided for. I am complete. I am abundant. Each of these must feel like a quiet recognition, not a desperate claim. The moment I am wealthy feels calm instead of hungry. You have crossed the threshold. This is why it is dangerous to say, I am poor, even jokingly. For the subconscious does not know humor. It knows only identity. It builds the house exactly as the blueprint commands. If the blueprint says scarcity, it builds scarcity. If the blueprint says plenty, it builds plenty. The greatest secret I can give you tonight is this. You do not need to add effort to I am. You must remove contradiction. You do not empower it by force. You empower it by consent. In the final moments before sleep, the old identities weaken. The rigid outlines of the day dissolve. The mind no longer fights so fiercely for the old story. This is when I am becomes luminous. This is when it slips past resistance and enters the deeper chambers of the being. So when night comes, I ask you to treat that moment with reverence. Lie down as you always do. Let the limbs grow heavy. Let the breath slow. Let the outer world soften into silence. And then, without effort, without drama, let the phrase rise gently in you. I am. Say it inwardly, as one who listens rather than speaks. And then, let the state of wealth clothe it naturally, like a garment placed without strain upon the body, not as fantasy, as recognition. The feeling should not be electric. It should be settled. It should feel like something remembered, rather than invented. I am secure. I am provided for. I am the man who already has. Then do not continue, do not repeat, do not analyze, do not wait for sensation. Let the identity stand and fall asleep within it. This is not suggestion. This is not auto-suggestion. This is submission to your own creative authority. And when you sleep in I am, you do not plant a seed, you become the seed. When you awaken, do not test it. Do not inspect the world for proof. Proof is the after effect. Identity is the cause. You continue walking through life as one who has already named himself, not pretending, not hoping, being. And you will find that the world begins to answer you differently. Men will respond with ease. Opportunities will arise without struggle. Money will appear through channels that feel natural rather than miraculous. And this is how you will know that I am has been impressed. The state of wealth does not rush. it flows. The state of wealth does not beg, it expects. The state of wealth does not doubt, it rests. When these qualities begin to feel natural in you, the outer confirmation will not be far behind. So tonight, when you lay down, I ask you for nothing heroic. I ask you for nothing dramatic. Only this: be silent long enough to feel your own being. Touch I am without fear, without shame, without apology. And let the state of abundance attach itself quietly like breath attaches to the lungs. You will not feel thunder, you will feel peace. And peace is the seal of creation. For whenever I am speaks, the universe listens. You must now understand something that the world has never taught you, and yet lives by without knowing it. You do not live in the facts of your life. You live in the meaning you assign to those facts. You do not carry yesterday as an objective chain of events. You carry it as memory, as feeling, as interpretation. And memory, contrary to what the senses insist, is not fixed, it is not sealed, it is not beyond your reach. It is plastic. It is obedient. It yields to imagination as surely as the future does. Man believes he moves forward from the past, as though yesterday were carved in stone, and tomorrow merely an extension of it. But I tell you, the past is alive in you only as memory, and memory lives only in consciousness. And consciousness is where all creation takes place. Therefore, the past itself is subject to revision. This is not fantasy. This is not denial. This is the highest application of the law. You are not changing external archives. You are changing the state of consciousness from which your present and future are being generated. And when you change the state, the outpicturing must change with it. Most men sleep carrying the emotional weight of the day they just lived. They replay the argument. They relive the humiliation. They revisit the rejection. They fall asleep feeling as the man who failed, who was ignored, who was defeated. And then they wonder why tomorrow feels like yesterday, wearing a different mask. They do not realize they have just replanted the same seed. What you carry into sleep does not fade. It multiplies. Revision is the art of interrupting that multiplication at its root. It is the deliberate act of replacing the emotional reality of what happened with the emotional reality of what ought to have happened. And the subconscious, which never judges, accepts the revised act as the only act. You must understand that the subconscious does not know what actually occurred. It knows only what you feel to be true now. It does not recognize time. It recognizes feeling. It does not debate history. It accepts conviction. So the moment you rewrite a scene in feeling, the old version is displaced. The new one becomes seed, and the world is forced to grow from that seed forward. This is why I say that no man is bound unless he consents to be bound. Even the man who failed today is not doomed to repeat it tomorrow unless he falls asleep accepting failure as his identity. The moment he revises the failure into success inwardly, he has altered the current of his life at its source. Revision is not about pretending the pain did not happen. It is about refusing to let pain be the author of tomorrow. So when you lie down at night, before sleep claims you fully, you return inwardly to the day that has just passed. Not as a judge, not as a victim. As a sovereign editor, you walk through your day in memory as though reviewing a film, and wherever the scene does not match the man you now claim to be, you stop it. You do not argue with it. You do not explain why it happened. You replace it. If you were rejected, you revise acceptance. If you were short of money, you revise the payment arriving. If you were spoken to harshly, you revise kindness. If you failed, you revise triumph. And you must not see this as imagination working on shadows. You must feel it as reality being corrected at the level of cause. You re-enter the scene from your own eyes. You hear the different words. You feel the different outcome. You let your body respond as though it had actually happened this way. Relief, gratitude, confidence, peace. Let those feelings rise naturally, not theatrically. And then you do something most men never dare to do. You accept the revised version as the only version. You do not say, "This is just imagination." You say inwardly, without words, "This is what happened." And having accepted it emotionally, you allow yourself to drift into sleep. When you do this, you are not trying to change the past. You are changing the identity that the past was reinforcing. And identity is what the future must obey. A man who was rejected today and revises himself into being chosen does not awaken tomorrow as the same man who was rejected. He awakens as the man who is chosen. And the law, being faithful, must find him. Situations that confirm election rather than exclusion. A man who was unpaid today and revises himself into being paid does not carry forward the vibration of lack. He carries forward the vibration of provision, and money must align. This is why revision is both healing and creation. It does not merely repair memory, it reorders destiny. There is no wound that revision cannot dissolve, because every wound lives only in remembered feeling. There is no financial failure that revision cannot neutralize, because every failure lives as a state in the soul. The outer event is already over. What continues is the emotional echo, and revision changes the echo. You must not underestimate how deeply yesterday governs tomorrow. The man who was shamed as a child and never revised carries that shame into every business deal, every relationship, every opportunity. He is not responding to the present. He is obeying a memory. And until that memory is rewritten, it will continue to speak. But the moment he dares to re-enter that old scene as the man he is now, and revises dignity where there was humiliation, strength where there was weakness, approval where there was rejection, the chain is broken. Not symbolically, literally. You are not doomed by what happened. You are only bound by what you permit to remain alive within you. This is why I tell you that every night before sleep is a court of final judgment, not God judging you. You judging reality. You deciding what shall stand as truth in your world going forward. Do not carry into the depth of sleep any scene that contradicts the man you now claim to be. Do not let the old story accompany you into the womb of the subconscious. For whatever you take with you into that silent chamber will be conceived anew. So revise gently, revise faithfully, revise without anger. This is not battle, this is authorship. You are not fighting life. You are rewriting its script from the only place it ever truly existed, consciousness. And now let me tell you the deepest part of revision, the secret most never touch. You are not only revising events, you are revising your relationship to yourself. When you revise being rejected into being chosen, you are not only altering a memory, you are declaring a new identity. I am the one who is chosen. When you revise poverty into provision, you are not merely changing a day, you are saying inwardly, I am the one who is provided for. And that identity, once accepted, begins to govern everything. So night after night, if needed, you take the same scene and revise it again, until it carries no emotional sting, until the relief feels complete, until the memory no longer triggers the old self. When that happens, the work is done. The past has been neutralized. The future is free. This is why some men change overnight, and others struggle for years. One clings to memory as though it were sacred. The other edits it as though it were clay. The night is the great editor's room. The mind is quiet. The body is still. The defenses are down, and the subconscious waits. It does not care what version you give it. It accepts the one you feel as true. So do not go to bed as a victim of the day. Go to bed as its author. If the day was beautiful, bless it and sleep in gratitude. If the day was cruel, unwrite it. If the day was expensive, revise abundance. If the day was lonely, revise companionship. If the day was fearful, revise security. If the day was empty, revise fulfillment. And then fall asleep, not as the man the day tried to make you, but as the man you have decided to be. This practice, faithfully applied, will not only heal wounds, it will transform your sense of self so completely that the world will reflect a new man without you ever struggling to change it. And you will one day look back in wonder and realize that the moment your life truly changed was not when money arrived, not when opportunity appeared, not when fortune smiled, but when one quiet night you refused to let the day define you, and quietly rewrote reality from your bed. That is the power you carry. That is the authority you were born with. And that is how the past becomes servant instead of master. Now we arrive at the final act, not the end of your power, but the moment when all power is sealed. For creation does not culminate in action. It culminates in rest. And how you rest determines what you become. I have told you that the last feeling you carry into sleep is the seed you plant in the womb of creation. Now I say something even more precise. The state in which you surrender consciousness is the state you inherit when you awaken. Sleep is not an escape from life. Sleep is the daily rehearsal of what you accept as real. Most men sleep as those who wait. They lie down with worry in their chest. They fall into unconsciousness with unfinished hope in their hands. They surrender the night as beggars, silently asking tomorrow to save them from today. And because the law is just, tomorrow faithfully reflects the vibration they carried into the dark. But you are not to sleep as one who waits. You are to sleep as one who has arrived. There is a profound difference between resting in hope and resting in possession. Hope is always tense. Possession is always calm. Hope leans forward. Possession settles back. Hope asks, will it come? Possession whispers, it is done. And that whisper is the creative command. Your bed is not merely a place of recovery for the body. It is an altar of assumption. The pillow is not only for the head. It is the threshold of states. And the darkness of night is not emptiness. It is the curtain behind which the unseen rearranges itself according to what you have felt to be true. So I say to you now, do not go to that altar carrying longing. Do not enter that sanctuary dragging need. Lay down as one who has already received. Before sleep claims you, gather the feeling of abundance gently into your chest. Not with excitement, not with excitement, not with force, with quiet certainty. Let the breath soften into the rhythm of a man who needs nothing, because all is already his. You will know you are doing it rightly, when anxiety has no voice, when the mind no longer runs forward to check outcomes, when the heart settles into a deep, unhurried stillness. That stillness is not emptiness. It is fullness without effort. To sleep rich is not to dream of gold. It is to rest in sufficiency. To sleep rich is not to imagine acquisition. It is to embody completion. To sleep rich is to let the body lie down as though the long journey is already over. Not because you have proven anything to the world, but because you have accepted something within yourself. And that acceptance is the last creative act. You must understand this. The subconscious builds what you consent to be. It does not respond to noise. It responds to agreement. It does not obey anxiety. It obeys assumption. So if you fall asleep strained, you are assuming struggle. If you fall asleep doubtful, you are assuming delay. If you fall asleep longing, you are assuming absence. But if you fall asleep in calm possession, you are assuming wealth. And what you assume in feeling, you become in fact. The man who sleeps as one who has already arrived does not wake searching. He wakes moving. He does not wake hoping. He wakes living. He does not wake to chase the world. The world begins to chase him, and it does so without announcement. Do not look for signs. Signs follow. They do not precede. The flower does not check the soil to see if it is growing. It grows because it was planted. So tonight, you do not monitor the law. You trust it. You do not supervise the seed. You let it sleep. You simply lay down your body as one who has finished his work. There is a sacred dignity in that posture. Shoulders relaxed not from exhaustion, but from certainty. Breath slow not from defeat, but from peace. The chest open not from anticipation, but from trust. The one who has truly assumed abundance has no urgency left. Urgency belongs to the man who still doubts. You are not to carry urgency into sleep. You are to carry majesty. You are to carry quiet authority. You are to carry the silent knowing of one who has already crossed the threshold. When you remember this, your nights become creative without effort. Your dreams soften. Your mornings lighten. And the days begin to rearrange themselves with an ease you cannot explain to those who still force life with their hands. You will notice doors opening without pushing, invitations arriving without pursuit, provisions appearing without panic, coincidence stacking upon coincidence until the rational mind falters and calls it luck. But you will know better. You will know it was the way you slept. you will know it was the way you rested. You will know it was the way you surrendered as one who already had. There is a final truth I leave with you now, one that rests above all techniques, above all words, above all methods. Creation does not respond to effort. Creation responds to identity at rest, not to the man who strains to become, but to the man who consents to be. So tonight, as the candle of consciousness dims, do not hold on as though something might be lost. Let go as though everything has already been gained. Do not cross into sleep as a traveler seeking a destination. Cross as one who has returned home. Let the last feeling of your day be complete. Let the final breath be unburdened. Let the last thought dissolve into quiet satisfaction. And then sleep, not as the one who hopes tomorrow will change, but as the one who knows tomorrow must reflect what has already been accepted. For the law is not moved by words, it is moved by states, and the state you enter as you sleep is the state that will greet you as you wake. You are not rehearsing poverty anymore. You are not practicing waiting anymore. You are not preparing for abundance. You are living from it. So now, rest. Rest as one whose world is already aligned. Rest as one whose provision is already ordained. Rest as one whose identity has already shifted. Rest as one who no longer asks if the law works, but knows that it cannot fail. And in that knowing, in that softness, in that silent authority, let sleep take you gently. For in sleeping rich, you do not escape creation, you command it. Do not wait for signs. Signs follow, they do not lead. The shadow never walks ahead of the man. It moves only when the man moves. And so I tell you now, as one who has tested this law in the fires of life and found it faithful beyond all logic, do not look to the world for permission to be what you have already assumed yourself to be. Do not wait for money to arrive before you feel wealthy. Do not wait for freedom to appear before you breathe freely. Do not wait for approval before you stand in certainty. Waiting is confession. Rest is assumption. And the law answers only assumption. You are not here to negotiate with appearances. You are not here to persuade the visible. You are not here to convince conditions. Conditions are slaves. They have never been masters. They follow states. They obey consciousness. They rearrange themselves around what you silently, persistently, faithfully claim yourself to be. So I say again, do not wait for signs. Do not scan tomorrow for proof. Do not inspect the world for progress. Do not dig up the seed to see whether it has sprouted. The man who checks has not planted. The man who trusts has already sown. You have done the inner work. You have entered the state. You have felt the end. You have slept in the assumption. You have revised the past. You have spoken from the new identity. You have rested as one who has arrived. Now you do nothing, nothing outwardly, and everything inwardly stays exactly as it is. Remain, not tense, not vigilant, not obsessive, but settled. There is a quality to the soul that has truly assumed. It becomes quiet. It stops knocking. It stops asking. It stops wondering. It does not even argue. It simply knows. And because it knows, it cannot be shaken by delay, nor disturbed by contradiction, nor seduced back into the old man by fear. This is the Sabbath. This is the rest spoken of in Scripture. Not the rest of idleness, but the rest of completion. You have entered it now. So I tell you, do not ask when. The question when is the language of the one who doubts the birth. The woman who has conceived does not ask when the child will exist. She knows it already does. She may not know the hour of delivery, but she no longer questions the reality of the life within her. You have conceived. Your imaginal act was the conception. Your sensation was the seed. Your sleep was the womb. Now gestation is law. It will move at its own pace. It will come through its own channels. It will arrive in its own hour, and it will not require your anxiety. You cannot speed it with worry. You cannot delay it with calm. It moves by covenant. So do not ask when. Do not say, how long? Do not say, why not yet? Do not say, what if it doesn't? These are the questions of the man who stepped back out of the end. You have no questions now. You have an identity. And identity is the only cause. Do not ask how. How belongs to the intellect. And the intellect was never the creator. The bridge of incidents is not your responsibility. You will not plan it. You will not design it. You will not trace its outline. You will only walk it when it appears beneath your feet, And when you do, it will feel ordinary, natural, obvious, as though this was always how it was supposed to unfold. And you will smile quietly and say within yourself, of course. But until then, you rest. You do not manipulate people. You do not force opportunities. You do not chase outcomes. To do so would be to confess that you are not what you claim to be. The rich man does not chase provision. Provision chases him. The chosen man does not seek doors. Doors recognize him. The one who has arrived does not run. The world arranges itself around his stillness. So do not ask how. Do not ask when. Do not wait for signs. And above all, do not ask permission. Do not ask permission from the past. Do not ask permission from your family. Do not ask permission from society. Do not ask permission from your bank account. Do not ask permission from memory. Permission is never granted by the outer man. It is taken inwardly. The only one who ever had the right to authorize your next state was you. And you have authorized it the moment you assumed it, the moment you felt it, the moment you slept in it, the moment you said, not with lips, but with being, I am. So do not ask permission to walk as the new man. Walk. Do not ask permission to speak as the one who has speak. Do not ask permission to feel calm in the absence of proof. Feel. Let the world adjust. It must. It always does. For the world is not alive with will. It is alive with obedience. It has no choice but to echo. Now I speak to the deepest part of you, the part that knows without sound, the part that understands without language, the part that is neither male nor female, neither young nor old, neither rich nor poor, but simply is. That part has heard, that part has accepted, that part has already moved, and from that movement the entire world will eventually shift. So now stop rehearsing the teaching, stop measuring your progress, stop checking your mood, stop testing your faith. Faith is not a performance you evaluate. Faith is a state you live from, and you are living from it now. Whether your senses agree or not no longer matters. The senses have never been the judges. They have only been the messengers. And messengers always arrive after the decree. The decree has been spoken, silently, inwardly, irrevocably. So I say to you now, with the same certainty with which I have watched visions clothe themselves in flesh again and again throughout my life. You do not need another technique. You do not need another book. You do not need another ritual. You need only to remain what you have become. Do not fluctuate. Do not dramatize delays. Do not analyze silence. Silence is working. Stillness is working. Rest is working. The seed does not announce itself each morning. It simply grows. And one day it breaks the surface. And the man who planted it says, not with surprise, but with recognition, yes, this is exactly as I felt it would be. That is how it always comes. Quietly, naturally, inevitably. So now, my final word to you is not instruction. It is confirmation, not encouragement. Confirmation. You have not imagined in vain. You have not assumed in error. You have not rested in illusion. You have entered law, and law does not fail. It does not forget. It does not change its mind. It fulfills. Whether you watch it or not, whether you doubt it or not, whether you understand it or not, it fulfills. So I leave you not with hope. Hope is for those who are still on the outside. I leave you with fulfillment, with certainty, with the quiet, unshakable knowing that the thing you have accepted within must appear without, not because you desire it, not because you deserve it, but because you have already become it. So now, do not ask, do not wait, do not seek, do not chase, assume and rest. The world will obey. It cannot do otherwise. And so I say to you now, slowly, deliberately, as one who knows the end from the beginning and the beginning from the end, it is done, it is done, it is done.